Radio Africana,
your non-stop entertainment radio.
Good evening. How are we all doing today? It's another episode of the Turntable Show. I'm excited to be here today. It's another lovely Monday. And I've got a lot to unpack on today's show. I've got a special guest, as always. And, of course, the weather has been good to us. And in Manchester, I think we're dealing with 20 to 25 degrees, and that is hot for us. That is hot for us in the UK. Apologies for the late start, and I'm glad that you've decided to tune in and be a part of the show today. So before I bring in my first guest, I would want to introduce him. And just give you a little idea of who he is. Kemeshi Samuel is his name. He's a co-founder and chief operating officer at First Founders Limited, a venture studio focused on partnering with early stage founders to build, scale, and fund their budding companies. So you can tell that I've got a big one on the show today. I'm excited, but before we bring him on and I tell you a bit more about my guest, we'll just play one more song and we'll be right back.
You rely on. Yettis. I'm not your brother, I'm not your sister. I'm not your auntie, I'm not your uncle. I'm not your brother, I'm not your sister. I'm not your mentor, I'm not your auntie. I'm not your goat, not your mentor, not your goat, not your mentor. Anytime gbojule, kò sẹ́ni tó ń gbojule. Ẹni tí a gbojule, kò sẹ́ni tó ń gbojule. Ẹni tí a gbojule, kò sẹ́ni tó ń gbojule. Ẹni tí a gbojule. Face your frontal, mind your business. Face your frontal, mind your business. Do your work, mind your business. Stand attention, stand at ease. Turn right, turn left, look up, look down. Send funds, cash cow. I know this will be all. Come on, me,
So like I was saying before we went on the music break, if you were wondering who that was Yettis by Enita Bujule, a song by myself. So yes, as I was speaking, I was telling you about our lovely guest that we have on the show today. He is Kemeshi Samuel. He's a VC analyst, ecosystem builder, and a host of Made in Africa podcast by Jamit, a show that's been crafted to tell the stories of successful African founders to inspire young entrepreneurs to greatness. So you can see I'm sure you got your questions ready for my guest. Some of the world-class founders he's interviewed on the show include David Lanre Messon. I'm hoping I pronounced that right. He's the founder and CEO of First Founders Inc. Inyoluwa Aboyeji. I guess this bio is going to test my Yoruba speaking skills. And that's also the founding partner of Future Africa, and Nadaya Enegesi. who's also a co-founder and CEO of Eden Life, amongst others. So you can see he's a well-versed human, and we're going to be learning. Hope you've got your pen and paper ready. He's also a trainer, certified content creator, marketer, and SEO expert, and currently a BBA learner at Nexford University. Welcome, Kemeshi.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm stoked for this.
Wonderful. Would you want me to refer you to as Samuel, or is it Kemeshi? Which one is it? Because both of them sound like first names.
Kemeshi is actually my surname. My first name is Samuel.
Lovely. You see, when you've got a posh surname, you should thank your father for that, because there are some surnames that I cannot even pronounce on the podcast. By the time I'm done pronouncing it, the podcast will be over.
This is the first. Most people I meet say my surname is actually weird, so this is the first.
It sounds like samurai. I don't know. It sounds like somebody, like a Japanese name. So I guess that leads us to the question: what does it mean?
It means let what I do be known.
What language is it?
Igbo, actually. Igbo language.
Interesting. How would you pronounce it then? I guess I was pronouncing it different then. How would you pronounce it in
English? It's Kemeshi, really. Kemeshi is how I've grown up pronouncing it, yeah.
Kemeshi. Interesting. I love it. Nice.
Thank
So
you.
welcome. It was very hurried. Obviously, it was very much last minute getting you on the show. We do understand you're a busy personality. So if you don't mind giving our guests a little idea of who you are and what you do.
Okay. I mean, your intro sort of covered most of, actually all of what I do, really. Full time, I work at First Founders, where a company I've co-founded with my partner David Marimerson. What we do really is work with very early stage founders who have ideas for like great products, startups, but don't have the technical resources to build out this product. So what we do is we help them build out the most basic version of that product. So let's say they have an idea for an app, right? They want to push to market that solves a particular problem. What we do is build out the core features of that app, basically what they need to go to market, and validate the idea if people would actually pay for the product or not. I mean, that's like the most simplistic version of what we do as a venture studio. Obviously, there are other aspects to how we function as a company, but I think that best describes us for technologically inclined people that operate in the startup ecosystem, basically. And then on the side, as a hobby, but it's grown to be much more than that. I started it in 2020 as a hobby, and now it's become very much a part of who I am, which is my podcast, where I interview African founders. What brought about the idea of the podcast was we found out that there weren't that much content available online about African founders and their struggle building companies here in Africa, because it's one thing to be an entrepreneur, and it's another thing to be an entrepreneur in Africa, because the landscape here is very much different from the West, right? The business climate is a lot more challenging than what you'd find in the US, for example, or in the UK. And but regardless of the challenges, there have been so many founders that have started and grown really, really incredible companies, unicorns that we know today, like your Flutterwave, your Cheaper Cash, your OPay, your Jumia. And we felt that people don't tell enough of these stories, or those founders don't have a platform to tell their stories and how they've been able to navigate the plethora of challenges that are faced as a business owner, that you face as a business owner in Africa, and particularly even in Nigeria. And we thought to ourselves that we should be the ones to create that platform, not just to celebrate their wins, but also to educate aspiring founders. I mean, I believe it's better to learn from other people's experience where you can, and then avoid making those mistakes, as opposed to you going out and then expending your resources when you could always have learned from other people's experience. And that is, those two are pretty much what I spend my time focused on. When I'm not working on those two, I'm usually on Twitter.
We noticed you're very active on Twitter. That's definitely how we met, and I was impressed with your work rate. Obviously offline, and obviously online on the social media space. But before we get to unpack your hobby, let's go back to, obviously it's called First Founders. How did you find the process of registering the company and being in partnership? Because most times, if we're talking about the online space, there's a popular mentor that we all follow on the Twitter space. It is Chief Asamota. He's always saying that almost like 95% of startups close. And he would blatantly say to you, do not set up your business where your sole customer are startups, because then you're setting up yourself to fail. How do you see yourself surviving as First Founders Limited, and why do you do anything apart from startups, or is it just only startups that are your focus?
Just startups, although recently we've been speaking to a few banks. One in particular is most interesting to us. They reached out to us, and we are looking at entering the SME space as well, but for now it's just startups we're focused on. Okay,
wonderful. And what was the process in terms of registering the company? How long have you guys been open for?
4 years now. Last March made it 4 years.
So you've gone past the 3 years where they normally say within 3 years startup usually closes.
Actually, it's within 5 years. So we're not still
It keeps expanding, and I guess in Nigeria, even 10 years self is a major.
10 years self, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Crazy. So why didn't you go alone? Because that's usually the thing. When there's usually a duo, there's always an enticement to say, I can do it myself. Why do I need a partner? So why a partnership?
Okay. So I joined the company about a year later after it was founded by my partner, and my joining then, obviously the company had already been set up both here in Nigeria and in the US as well. So I was not actively involved in the registration process. But the registration process for a business is actually quite straightforward, because we have a number of portfolio companies we've launched. You don't have to rack your head so much about it as the founder. You just have to get a lawyer, and that lawyer settles everything for you. Obviously, you just have to sign the necessary requirements.
When we're saying, sorry to interject. So when we are saying lawyer, are we talking about Layi Wasabi kind of lawyer, or
no,
because you say lawyer as if most founders have the money for lawyers?
Oh no, that is very interesting.
Exactly. That's why I asked about do it myself, because that do it myself will land you with the CAC, and it will land you in many problems where you can't afford to go hire a lawyer, so you have to read up and do things yourself. So that's what I'm asking. It seems like your own process was the posh version of registration.
Definitely the posh version. Our in-house legal counsel has over 15 years experience.
Energy.
Yeah, exactly. So
in-house. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
In-house.
She's actually one of our portfolio founders. She runs a new a startup called Pocket Lawyers. She's one of our portfolio founders as well. So it's just a nice blend of should I say talents we have on our team. So I was talking about the partnership part. So I came in initially. David, my partner, had found me through my podcast. He was one of the guests on my show very early on, and when we met, we sort of aligned in terms of the vision of the company. While I was interviewing him, I saw where he was going with the company, and just in my mind, I thought it would be nice to jump on a vision like this, right? Although it's been challenging in many, many ways, right? But the vision was what caught me, helping founders basically get off the ground, because other startup support instruments really targets founders that have gone from point zero to point one, and sometimes even point two. But when you're between point zero and one, no one is interested in you, and that's where we come in. So I was much inspired by that vision.
Okay.
And as time went on, we kept in contact on LinkedIn, and then he reached out to me and asked me to come on board, and a lot of things went in between that conversation, but that was how I came into the company, and I've been there for 3 years now. So, but how we balance basically our responsibilities in such a way that we're not always at loggerheads with one another is we recognize each other's strengths, and I think that sort of like makes things very easy. And then it also helps that we are, at the end of the day, whatever it is we're going for is for the benefit of the company and our portfolio founders and basically all our partners. So that helps to align our thoughts, our point of view. And if we zoom out from any argument we're having and we realize that maybe what we're even arguing about doesn't really favor the company, it's very easy for us to dissolve such arguments. But I'm going to just say it outrightly that we've never had any argument really that was heated up. We've just sort of like worked very seamlessly together, and we've been fortunate because it's not always the case with every other company. You'd be surprised to find out that a significant percentage of companies that fail is usually due to co-founder troubles. And especially, I know this particularly from my time interviewing so many founders on my podcast. It can be quite tricky having a partner. But if you guys understand your responsibilities and just basically respect one another, I mean, at the most basic level, if you respect human beings, I think it's easy to work with people.
How many of you are in the team?
How many of us currently in the company?
Yes, in the team. You make it seem like me, myself, and I are in collaboration.
Okay. So for senior management is myself, David, who is the CEO, and we have another co-founder, Wilson, who is our chief technology officer. 3 of us run the company basically, and then we also have our head of finance and head of investor relations. But we also have a team of developers and our social media as well. But in total, we come up to, I think, 19 of us here.
And all 19 of you get along?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you people working from home? Or you're working in the same space?
Yes, we're working.
Because the reason why I ask is if you have to stare at somebody every single morning, act like you like them.
Yeah.
Be in the same meeting room where you have to sniff their air. And you're telling me for 5 years, all of you have never had a heated argument. Nobody has ever turned up drunk at work.
I see. Yeah, I guess we'll be lucky in that sense. But trust me, if you dislike somebody, even online, the way you interact, the tone of your voice, it will be very evident.
It's a lot more manageable. Trust me.
Right.
It is.
Right.
Trust me.
I guess we're lucky then in that sense.
That's amazing. So what would you say, because this is a turntable show, what would you say are those turntable moments, if you cast your mind back for the last 5 years, what would you say has been one turntable moment that you could say, you know what, this is where everything went tits up and we turned it around? I turned it around, or we as a team turned it around for the better. Let our viewers and listeners learn from it.
Good question. So we've had, and I'm going to be very careful here not to give or mention names or give too much detail, just to protect.
Don't worry, it's not the honest bunch. It's not the honest bunch. This is turntable show.
So, I mean, we've had a couple. So there was a time when it was difficult making payroll, like very difficult making payroll for a few months. And in situations like that, yeah, is tough to keep the team motivated, right? Because as much as people buy into your vision, everyone has responsibilities and goals they want to attain, and they need finances, money to do all of those things. So what we were able to do as a company, because then outside of building our own in-house ideas, startups, we also have third-party clients reach out to us and say, we have this idea, but we don't have a team of developers to build it. Now, we don't want to give you equity in our company, but we are ready to pay you cash for your work. And initially, we had been charging them like the full bill, depending on how complex their project is upfront. And that had should I say, discouraged a lot of potential clients. So what we did then was now introduce a flexible payment plan where clients are able to pay very, very tiny amounts. What we are still working with is just 30% upfront, and their work begins on their project, and the rest of the cost is spread across several months. And that helped greatly. That was a big turnaround moment for us, because we started seeing clients becoming a lot more responsive to us taking up their projects, right? Because the financial burden at the right of the bat was not so much. And because people work with like monthly payments, even at their own businesses, so it was easy for them to structure their payments plan, because then their own customers pay at the end of the month, or their client pay at the end of the month, and they can always just send our own cuts to us. So that worked for everybody. And in hindsight, I'm wondering why we're not doing that at the from inception, because right now it seems like a no-brainer. So that was one turntable moment that things were going real bad, and then we looked internally and we were able to come up with a solution that worked for us.
Wonderful. So you've heard it first. When you're struggling to pay your members of staff, go on the payment plan for their salary. You heard it from Kemeshi Samuel.
No, not the staff. Clients, please. Don't quote me. No, what I was talking about clients.
Salary on a payment plan. Oh, now imagine that. all the staff members would leave.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing. You could it's like the worst situation you could be in as management, having to see your team lose motivation over, and you can't blame anyone.
So
right?
Are you saying to me that when you guys realized you couldn't make payroll, you literally sent an email out to say, hey guys, we're struggling to pay you, and you now came up, you now had to have a meeting with everybody where somebody now suddenly suggested, okay, let's contact the clients and ask them to go on a payment plan? Is that how it unfolded?
Exactly, that was how it unfolded.
Yeah, you guys are a very transparent company, because that could never. I know a company. I'll give you a little idea. I think, and this is what I was saying about Twitter. X. I was saying about X the other day that I wish there was an opportunity where they actually have a feature for you to search your tweets, so you can retag your tweets. I tweeted in February, March this year that I came out of a business partnership that went sour, and for once in my life, for 2 months, nobody has emailed me threats. Nobody has threatened me or told me nonsense that I don't want to deal with. I literally woke up maybe 1st of March, and I'm like, hold on, I've actually had peace of mind for 2 months. I wonder why, and that's because I've not heard from this ex company of some sort. So my point is, just about 2 weeks ago, I was local to that same business partnership where they were located, and I needed to put something in my map where I needed directions to that same location to drop something off.
Yeah.
Only for me to put in the business address on Google, and then it says permanently closed. I'm like, huh? I guess they just updated it on Google. Maybe they're low on staff today, whatever. So I drove past, and everything in that building is a 3-floor building, 3 floors. Everything in that building is up for auction. I said, the God of Nebuchadnezzar. Imagine if I go buy the building. That would be something. So I was saying to myself that it's crazy how business partnerships can sometimes be very good. It can help promote. And what I'm trying to say is, obviously, when my company dissolved my partnership with them, somebody else moved in, and he had his own business there in partnership with them. This person's business was closed because obviously what happened is they normally put a piece of paper on the door to say cease to desist, meaning you are not allowed, nobody's allowed to enter the building, only the landlord of the building. What I'm saying to you is that person that went into partnership with them after I closed down on my bit, his goods and everything are in that building.
Oh my goodness.
His goods and everything will be going up for auction.
Oh my goodness.
All in the name of there was no transparency. All in the name of nobody sent that email to tell him that, hold on, we are owing the landlord money. Hold on, you might need to move out because we're struggling to pay the bills. So what I'm trying to say is, all well and good that that's the same from you telling us that 5 years there's been no fights, you couldn't pay payroll, you couldn't meet up, you sent an email. Sheesh. You guys are brave. You guys are brave. You guys are doing it different, and this is definitely something to admire. So where would you say you guys are going in the next 5 years? Something that the listeners can tune into and look forward to.
So for us, when we started initially, because if I speak from the angle of like VC venture capitalists, there are some funds that have specific industries or sectors they focus on. So a fund could focus on fintech, for example, primarily, and only fund companies or startups that are building in that industry. While some funds are agnostic in the sense that they invest across board, across geography, and even like funding levels. So when we started originally as a venture studio, we were agnostic. We were taking ideas from every industry, really, that any idea that made sense to us and we felt was viable at the time. But as time went on, that this was just late last year, we sort of honed in on 4 major industries for us as a focus, where we would be able to deploy our resources, especially in terms of technical knowledge, to help founders. So going forward in the next 5 years, we hope to, and these industries are obviously fintech, because it's one of the biggest in Africa, where we are focused in fintech, biotech, healthcare, and AI very recently. Obviously, anyone that's not on this train is missing out, because the opportunities, not just in terms of being able to get returns back, but how much it can impact our everyday lives is something any forward-thinking company should be on board with. So hopefully in the next 5 years, as a venture studio, would be leading in. We hope that our portfolio would be filled with companies that are leading all 4 of these industries. That is our goal for the next 5 to 10 years, really.
Truly exciting, because that's what I was going to ask you, that you're talking about proof of concepts, proof of concept apps and stuff like that. And obviously we have AI doing a lot of that for us, where you just put in your requirements and you could get a dummy app ready and done in max 2 days or even less than 2 days. What would you say is your biggest selling point at First Founders compared to AI?
So for us, we bring in industry experience, right? So it's not just about building the product for you, and that is why that is one thing we sell to our clients. When you come, even though you are paying us, and we are not necessarily getting equity in your business, which means it's not our business if the company succeeds or if the products like succeed in the market. We've just built it and handed it over to you. But we don't do like that. When you come to us, we look at the idea, right? If the way you are approaching it will work in the market or not. We also tell you if we think it's viable or not. And if we think it's viable, we like offer you advisory on how best to go about partnerships, other companies to work with that would basically ease the process of you going from just having this MVP to transitioning into a full company. So those are all of the value propositions we bring to the table. Whereas AI only builds the products for you and doesn't give you that much insights into how the market works, especially things on ground, because there are information available to everybody online. But when it comes to Nigeria, where there's not much reliable data about most of all these things, you can't really work with what you see online. You have to find people who have boots on the ground and I really know how the markets are working to guide you along your journey.
So you're documenting all the processes for
the
future.
Yeah.
Okay, because like they always say, data is king. So we always know that we can always come to First Founders if we want the actual data.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a little segue to your hobby. You mentioned that you're trying to get into a new series. I'm trying to remember your message to me. If you don't mind just running through what you are on the lookout for.
Okay. So the Made in Africa podcast, we have put out 12 episodes so far, which made season 1 of the podcast. Some of the guests that we've interviewed, Iyabueji, who co-founded 2 companies that are currently unicorn. And in the startup world, when we say a company is unicorn, it's worth over $1 billion or at least $1 billion. He's been on the show. Nadaya has also been on the show. I don't know if you know HA of Afropolitan. So we've had some really interesting guests on the show in season 1 of the podcast. And now season 2, we're 5 episodes into season 2 and we're going to 12 episodes. So it's very interesting for us, but we're hoping to do things a lot more differently this time around. I mean, the first season, we were just testing the waters in terms of what the content would be like, how it will run, what the show structure would be like, right? Because we're not very sure. But now we found what works, and we hope to like double down on efforts, especially in terms of marketing. Because for season 1 of the show, we didn't do any type of paid marketing whatsoever. And it's interesting because even though we didn't spend a dime on marketing, we're able to get 3,000 downloads organically. We even have a lot of, I think about maybe 22% of our listeners are from the United States, which is very interesting. And all of that was achieved with 0 marketing spend. So we hope that in this season, if we're able to shell out some funds for marketing, we should be able to hopefully triple the results we've gotten from season 1. Yeah.
Okay, and how are you planning to get the funding? Is it crowdfunding you're going for, or GoFundMe, or what are the details?
Yeah, we can't really. Except I work with some of my should I say, acquaintances in the US that go for me, but I don't think that is realistic considering what we are doing. But we are currently speaking to potential investors, right, that would invest in the podcast, so that hopefully when we grow to the extent where we're able to get to, they also can reap returns from like ad revenue and such and such. So,
Okay.
but for now, we are speaking to private individuals here in our network, and
Okay, so where do they
hopefully,
find the details for Made in Africa?
we are active on Instagram and Twitter. For Instagram, we go by Made in Africa Podcasts. You can just look us up. Very, very, very active on there. And obviously, you can also reach out to me at the Black Sam on Instagram or Black Sam on Twitter, and I'll be
How do you spell that? Because you know there are many
able to
there are many spellings for black now.
Black. Yeah. So my Black is BLAHK and then Sam SAM.
Okay.
Black Sam.
All one word, yes.
Yeah.
And then if they wanted to hit you
All
up,
one.
all one word, yes.
For Instagram, there's a underscore Black underscore Sam, but for for Twitter it's Black underscore Sam, and for Instagram it is the Black Sam, all one word.
The Black Sam. Okay, and then for your First Founders, how do people find you?
Our website is firstfounders.cc. You can hit us up, or you can email me, but I don't want to leave my email, obviously.
Sure. So what's
but you can just hit
.cc?
me up
What's
on Twitter,
.cc? I'm a bit confused. Why not .com? Why are you choosing to be different?
Okay, so in all transparency, .com was taken by the time we were registering the company. So but CC felt okay, yeah, and we went for that.
You guys are definitely
It's difficult to get a .com
an odd pair.
domain right now.
You could have gone for .ng,
Right.
.anything, you know. .org.
Okay, I mean the NG sort of like limits the scope of our service offering to probably only Nigeria. I don't know if you get the point.
Yeah,
I'm
I get
trying to
you.
make.
I get you. There's
Yeah,
org. There's org.
yeah.
There's many other options, right?
Okay, so the thing for org is usually for mostly maybe NGOs or like government institutions. It's not readily available for private companies that are for profit, I think. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, it's been we've got about 2 minutes left to round up. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. The time went by so quickly. I definitely have more questions, but unfortunately I'd have to wrap it up. But if there's one message you definitely want to pass on, you've got 2 minutes to do that. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, is there an angle you want me to come?
Anything
From?
that's been burning on your heart this week for Turntable.
Okay, so anyone listening, if you're running a business or you plan on doing so, it's important for you to understand that you're going to get a lot of no's, so many no's, but one yes could really turn things around for you. We've had several instances like that in our company, and even right now we're still waiting for that one yes to take us from where we're at now to where we want to be. It's going to be tough, especially if you're in Africa building a business, but at the end of the day, the people that are favored are those that stick to it the longest. So you don't even have to be the best, but if you're able to be consistent and stay for much longer in the game, you're going to definitely win in the end.
So stay consistent, keep striving to be better, because there's some people that are consistently bad. So they're just genuinely consistently bad. Customer satisfaction 0, and they don't keep going on because hustle na hustle.
Yeah.
Please don't keep going on if you are bad at what you do.
Please
just improve.
Consistent as well, improving.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you, Kemeshi Samuel, on the Turntable Show. Have a great week.